like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Welcome back, everybody. Tonight, we're going to dive into, something a little different.
Yeah.
The anatomy of a team meltdown. So picture this. It's a Thursday night. It's pouring rain.
Okay.
And the 49ers, they're getting soaked.
Oh, no.
Losing to the Rams 12-6.
They're
Playoff folks. Well, they're circling the drain.
Doesn't sound like a good time.
Not at all. But our source this week, it's an article from 49ers WebZone, and it actually goes beyond, just the box score,
Okay.
It argues that this game, it wasn't just a loss.
Mm-hmm.
It was a symptom of a way bigger problem.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's fascinating because the article, it doesn't just point fingers at players or the coaches or whatever.
Right.
It uses this game as a lens to examine something much more fundamental to how teams work, team culture.
Yeah, okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So the article keeps coming back to this idea of the 49ers, season washing away.
Okay.
And they use Deebo Samuel as, a prime example. He's having a rough year. Statistically, this is his worst.
Yeah.
And there was this one just awful dropped pass.
Oh, I remember that one.
It's almost like the rain is symbolic,
Yeah, I see what you mean, the visual metaphor. But to me, what's more intriguing than the metaphor itself is the question that it raises.
Okay.
Is Deebo the actual problem? Or is he a symptom of a deeper issue?
Oh, interesting.
Because he has said publicly that he needs more touches to be effective.
Right.
But is that really the solution,
Well, the article hints at, some other factors too.
Okay.
Like the injuries. I mean, the 49ers were missing Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, wow.
It was a whole laundry list of players.
Yikes.
And then their quarterback, Purdy, he just seems to really struggle when the weather turns bad. Could that be enough to, explain their struggles?
Well, injuries definitely play a role, but, I think it's worth pushing back on the idea that they're the only explanation. Every team has to deal with injuries.
Right.
But some teams, they seem to weather the storm better than others,
Yeah.
And I think that's where the idea of this team culture really comes in.
So you're saying it's not just about who's, physically on the field.
Yeah.
It's about how the team as a whole, responds to adversity.
Exactly, yeah. And the 49ers, at least in this game, they didn't really respond well at all. The article, it talks about how, a loose ball bounced off 49ers defenders.
What?
4 separate times.
No way.
Not even fumbled, just bounced off of them.
Oh, wow.
That, to me, that speaks volumes about, their focus, their intensity,
Yeah, there's almost this sense of, resignation. They've kind of accepted that things aren't going their way.
Yeah.
And they've just, given up trying to fight back.
It's like they've already lost. Yeah. That's a really great observation, actually.
Thanks.
And it also ties into a point the article makes about the Rams. They've had their own ups and downs this season.
Right.
But in their 2 wins against the 49ers, they've just shown a completely different attitude.
Oh, interesting.
They've been resilient. They've capitalized on opportunities, and their coaching, dare I say, has been a bit more inspiring.
There's this one play they highlight where the Rams, they set a 5-man blitz on a Hail Mary attempt.
Oh, wow.
The article called it a sign of gutsy coaching.
Yeah.
You just don't see that kind of risk-taking from the 49ers.
No, you don't. And I think that contrast, that's really at the heart of what we're talking about here. It's not just about, dissecting this one game.
Right.
It's about trying to understand the subtle but really crucial differences between teams that can thrive under pressure and those that just completely crumble.
And the article is suggesting that difference might come down to leadership.
Well,
or maybe something a little less tangible, like team spirit or something.
Precisely, yeah. There's this moment they mention where the linebacker, Devondre Campbell, he essentially quit on the team, during the game.
Oh, wow.
Now, we don't know the full story there, obviously.
Right.
But it does raise some questions about the overall culture within the 49ers organization.
So it's not just Deebo. It's not just the injuries.
Right.
It's something deeper, right?
Yeah.
Something about the mindset, the attitude, the, I don't know, the vibe of the team.
Yeah, the vibe. Exactly. I think you're hitting on something really important here. The article is suggesting that the 49ers, they might be lacking that that intangible element, that winning culture that allows teams to overcome obstacles and achieve greatness, even when the odds are, totally stacked against them.
So how do we even, define this winning culture? What are the signs that a team has it?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what can you do if it's, missing?
Those are great questions. And to answer them, I think we need to delve a little deeper into, the psychology of teams,
Okay.
how they work, why they work.
It's, it's so easy to get caught up in, the X's and O's of the game.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's, the stuff you can't see, on the stat sheet that really makes the difference.
Yeah.
This winning culture idea.
Right.
It's almost like a secret ingredient.
It really is. And you know what? It's not just a sports thing either.
No.
Think about, any successful team or organization you admire. There's usually something more than just talent or resources at play.
Right.
It's the way they operate, how they communicate,
Yeah.
how they handle, setbacks.
Right.
That's the real magic,
So if we're using the 49ers as our case study,
Yeah.
the article seems to suggest that their culture is, part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what are the, specific signs? I mean, how do you even diagnose a culture problem?
Well, it's not always obvious,
Okay.
but there are definitely some red flags to watch out for.
Okay. Like what?
Well, the first one is a lack of accountability.
Okay.
When things go wrong, do people actually take responsibility? Or is there a lot of finger pointing and excuse making going on?
Well, the article points out that Campbell quitting mid-game
Oh, yeah.
is a pretty extreme example of a lack of accountability, wouldn't you say?
It certainly raises questions.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Campbell, we don't know what led to that specific incident.
True.
But it does seem to fit into this larger pattern of players not stepping up, not taking ownership of their mistakes.
Yeah, and another thing the article mentions is this lack of communication.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
There seems to be a disconnect between the coaches and the players.
Yeah.
And even amongst the players themselves.
That's a classic symptom of a struggling team for sure. When communication breaks down, trust erodes. And it becomes every man for himself.
Yeah.
You start to see players, freelancing, trying to be the hero.
Right.
Instead of working together as a cohesive unit.
It seems like the 49ers, they have a lot of talent, at least on paper.
Oh, yeah.
They've got, guys who made the Pro Bowl.
Right.
But it's not clicking.
Well, that's the thing about culture.
Okay.
It can either amplify individual talent or it can completely neutralize it. Think about the Golden State Warriors dynasty a few years back.
Yeah.
They had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green.
Yeah, incredible players.
Incredible players. But they also had this culture of, selflessness, of shared sacrifice that allowed them to achieve something truly remarkable.
So it's not just about having the right pieces.
Right.
It's about having the right environment, the right mindset.
Exactly.
It almost feels like a chemistry experiment.
That's a great analogy. And in chemistry, the right combination of elements that can create something powerful, dynamic, while the wrong combination can lead to, an explosion.
Oh, no.
And in the case of the 49ers, it seems like they've got, some of the ingredients for success, but the formula just isn't quite right.
Okay, so the article contrasts them with the Rams, who seem to, have that winning formula, at least for now.
Yeah, for now.
What are they doing differently?
Well, the article highlights a few things. First, their coach, Sean McVay.
Yeah.
He's known for his, aggressive risk-taking style.
Right.
He creates an environment where players are encouraged to make bold moves, to push their boundaries.
And that 5-man blitz they called on the Hail Mary.
Oh, yeah.
That really exemplifies that kind of thinking.
Exactly. It sends this message to the players, We're not afraid to take chances. We're not going to play it safe. We're going to go out there and make things happen.
Yeah.
And that kind of energy, it can be really contagious.
So it's not just about the strategy itself.
Right.
It's about creating a culture where players feel empowered to take risks and be creative.
That's a key part of it, but it also goes deeper than that.
Okay.
The Rams, they seem to have this culture of resilience, of bouncing back from setbacks.
Yeah.
They haven't had a perfect season, but they've consistently found ways to overcome challenges and stay in the hunt.
And the 49ers, on the other hand, they seem to crumble under pressure.
Yeah, it's interesting how when they face adversity, they tend to fold instead of fight.
It's true.
And that's a really stark difference. And it speaks to the importance of developing a mindset that embraces challenges as opportunities for growth. Think about the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick.
Yeah, back in the day.
They weren't always the most talented team on the field, but they had this incredible mental toughness.
Yeah.
This ability to focus on the next play, to learn from their mistakes, and to just never give up.
That next play mentality.
Right.
That's something that the 49ers seem to be really missing.
Yeah, they get stuck dwelling on the past, on their mistakes, instead of, looking forward. And that can create this vicious cycle.
Ooh.
The more you dwell on negativity, the less energy you have to actually focus on solutions. It's like a quicksand of doubt and frustration that can just pull a whole team down.
So if we're thinking about practical takeaways, what can we learn from these contrasting examples?
Yeah.
How can we apply these principles of team culture to our own lives, even if we're not, professional athletes?
That's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
And it's one that we'll explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But here's a starting point. Think about the teams you're a part of.
Okay.
At work, in your community, even in your family. Are there signs of a winning culture there?
Or are there areas that could use some improvement?
Okay, so we've been kind of analyzing this 49ers game as a case study in what can go wrong when team culture falters. But let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
What does all this mean for us, the listeners in our own lives?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're not just, armchair quarterbacks here.
Right.
We're all part of teams in some way, whether it's at work, in our families, or even just groups of friends.
You're saying even if we're not calling plays or catching touchdowns or whatever, this idea of team culture still applies?
Absolutely. The principles we've been talking about, communication, resilience, leadership, shared purpose, those are universal.
Okay.
Think about a time when you were part of a team that was really clicking, where everyone was on the same page and felt empowered to contribute. I'm picturing my old college study group. Honestly, we were all so stressed and sleep deprived.
Yeah.
But we had each other's backs, and somehow we aced that final.
That's awesome.
It felt amazing.
There it is. That sense of shared accomplishment, of overcoming obstacles together.
Right.
That's the magic of a strong team culture. And on the flip side, we've probably all experienced the opposite too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Teams where there's a lack of trust, poor communication, and just this general sense of negativity.
Yeah, that's tough.
And those kinds of negative experiences, they can really impact,
What do you mean?
our well-being, our productivity, and even our overall outlook on life.
Yeah, for sure.
So the question becomes, how do we create more of those positive team experiences and avoid the toxic ones?
Well, the article about the 49ers, it seems to suggest it starts with leadership. But what does good leadership even look like in this context?
It's not necessarily about being, the loudest voice in the room or having all the answers.
Right.
It's about fostering an environment where everyone feels, valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work.
Right.
It's about setting a clear vision, communicating effectively, and holding people accountable in a way that's constructive, not punitive.
So it's about creating a sense of psychological safety.
Exactly.
Where people feel comfortable taking risks and making mistakes and, speaking up without fear of being judged or punished.
Yeah, exactly. Think about the Rams coach, Sean McVay.
Yeah.
He's known for his willingness to, listen to his players.
Right.
To give them autonomy and ownership over their roles. He's not a dictator,
Right.
He's a facilitator.
Okay.
And that kind of leadership style, it can kind of trickle down, influencing the way that team members interact with each other.
Right. It's contagious or something.
Right. It creates this ripple effect when people feel trusted and respected by their leader.
Right.
They're more likely to, extend that same trust and respect to their teammates.
Right.
It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of positive reinforcement.
Okay, so let's say you're not like the designated leader of your team or whatever. Are there still things you can do to cultivate a winning culture?
Absolutely. It starts with self-awareness.
Okay.
Are you bringing your best self to the table? Are you communicating effectively? Are you, actively listening to your teammates and trying to understand their perspectives?
Those are good things to think about, yeah. And I guess it also comes down to like taking ownership of your role, even if it's, not a glamorous one.
That's a crucial point.
Okay.
Every member of a team contributes in their own way.
Right.
And even like seemingly small actions can have this huge impact on the overall dynamic, Think about the equipment managers, the trainers, the scouts. In a sports team, these people might not be, in the spotlight,
right,
but they're absolutely essential to the team's success.
It's like that saying, there are no small roles, only small actors.
Right, exactly.
Everyone has the potential to make a difference.
Yeah.
Whether they're, the star player or the person behind the scenes, just making sure everything runs smoothly.
And ultimately, I think that's the message we want to leave our listeners with today.
Right.
Building a winning culture. It's a collective effort.
Right.
It's not about, waiting for someone else to step up and lead.
Yeah.
It's about each of us taking responsibility for the energy we bring to our teams, the way we communicate, the way we support each other.
It's about recognizing that even if we're not calling the plays, we can still contribute to a winning game plan.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe by applying these principles in our own lives, we can help prevent some Deebo Samuel moments from happening in the teams we're part of.
That's a good point. Well, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive here.
Yeah.
We've gone from, a rainy Thursday night football game to a much broader conversation about, the dynamics of teams and the power of culture.
We've explored what can go wrong.
Right.
But more importantly, I think we've uncovered some key ingredients for creating teams that thrive. Teams that are, resilient, collaborative, and ultimately successful.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on this journey, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And until next time, keep playing to win.
That's right.
Not just in sports, but in all aspects of your life.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're Bobby doll. Show them all what I'm made